Please welcome your next Senator, Jon Ossoff.
Savannah. Hey, can y'all hear me all the way in the back? I love you guys. Hey, Tracy, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much to the people of Garden City and Savannah. Thank you so much to all the people working so hard across the state of Georgia to get out the vote right now. Y'all, it all comes down to Tuesday. It all comes down to Tuesday, Election Day, the last chance to make our voices heard as Georgians. And the whole country is watching us right now. The whole country is watching the people of Georgia right now. Georgia, feel your power at this historic moment. Feel your power to make a statement that will echo from coast to coast and down the generations about what Georgia stands for. This is our moment. We are on the cusp of a historic victory. For the last 10 years, all of you who have registered voters, who have mobilized communities, who have protected the sacred right to vote in this state, it all comes down to this. And think for a moment, Savannah, think about how far we've come. Think about how far we've come in the great state of Georgia. Think about how far we've come in the American South. The most competitive battleground state in the country. 2 runoff elections to determine control of the United States Senate. Think about how far we've come, Georgia, that your standard bearers in these races are the young Jewish son of an immigrant and a black pastor who holds Dr. King's pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Think about how far we've come, Georgia. And we're running against like the Bonnie and Clyde of corruption in American politics. 2 United States senators who, when they learned about the pandemic that was bearing down on our shores, their first calls were to their stockbrokers. Y'all, we deserve better than David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. In Garden City, when we make our voices heard on Tuesday, retirement will be coming for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. And truly, we have bigger and better things to discuss than David and Kelly. Like where we go from here as a people. Georgia has the power to define the next era. And we are building a movement for health, jobs, and justice for the people. Health, jobs, and justice for all the people, Garden City. For those who have been forgotten and left behind, for those who haven't had a voice, for those who have been left without health care, for those who have been left to fend for themselves during this pandemic. We are building a movement for all the people. 300,000 of our fellow Americans have been killed by this pandemic. Hospital systems and nursing homes buckling under the weight of this disease. So much loss. So many loved ones buried. So many who have lost their lives unable to spend those final moments touching and being with the people they love. This has been a year of hardship and suffering for the people of Georgia and for the American people. But Garden City, help is on the way. Help is on the way. Joe Biden will soon be the President of the United States, and today we welcome Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. And when you send me and Reverend Warnock to the United States Senate, we will pass legislation to ensure that testing and vaccines are free for every American. We will power Georgia's own Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to lead the public health response to this pandemic. We will make sure that hospitals and nursing homes have the resources that they need to keep their staff safe, to save lives, and to slow the spread of COVID-19. Because we're building a movement for health for all the people. And Garden City, do you believe, like Reverend Warnock and I do, that health care is a human right and not just a privilege for those who can afford it or live in the right zip code? Yo, I was down in Cuthbert, Georgia, just about a week and a half ago in South Georgia, Randolph County. They lost their hospital in October. It just shut down. Just think about that for a moment. Here in the state of Georgia, in the middle of a pandemic, in the wealthiest country in the world, the hospital closed. And now, see, the people of Cuthbert, they have to drive all the way to Columbus or Albany just to get to an emergency room. We don't have to accept that, Georgia. We've lost 9 hospitals in this state in 10 years. But if you send me and Reverend Warnock to the Senate, we will deliver the resources to reopen those hospitals. We will deliver the resources to build clinics that will serve every community in this state, because health care is a human right, not just a privilege for those who live in the right part of the state. Health, jobs, and justice for all the people. Let's talk about jobs for a moment. For 8 months, the United States Senate blocked the direct relief that people need. For 8 months straight, David Perdue was adamant that he opposed stimulus checks for the people. And then he changes his tune 6 days before an election. Georgia deserves senators who will have our backs not just when it's about to be time to face the people, but at all times. And if you send me and Reverend Warnock to the Senate, we'll deliver the $2,000 stimulus checks that people need to stay in their homes, that families need to stay on their feet. We have so much good work to do, Garden City. I want y'all to feel in your hearts a sense of optimism and excitement about how much good we can do when we win these races. We can pass the most ambitious infrastructure, jobs, clean energy plan in U.S. history. We can create tens of thousands of jobs across this state, upgrading our public schools, upgrading transit and transportation, connecting communities within Georgia and connecting Georgia with the rest of the South. We can make America the #1 producer of clean energy in the world, and Georgia the #1 producer of clean energy in the American South. We have so much good that we can do together. We can raise the minimum wage to $15. We can expand the Pell Grant program so that no Georgian has to take on a penny of debt to get a degree from a public college or from an HBCU. There is so much good that we can do. health, jobs, and justice for all the people. Let's talk about justice for a moment, Garden City. Y'all may not know this, but my mother came to this country as an immigrant when she was 23 years old, alone as a young woman. Takes some courage to uproot your whole life and move to the other side of the planet and start over, but she came here because she believed in the ideas this country stands for. Now, let me be real clear that that doesn't mean that she harbored or indulged some kind of fantasy about American history. That doesn't mean that she didn't recognize how much further this country had to go. But she came here because she believed this country was on a journey of progress toward fully realizing the very best of our founding ideals: equality in God's eyes, equal justice for all. See, our Constitution already guarantees equal protection under the law. But when Ahmaud Arbery is shot to death in broad daylight in the street on camera in Glenn County, Georgia, and the local authorities look the other way because Ahmaud Arbery is a young black man, that makes a mockery of equal protection under the law. So Garden City, are you ready to fight to pass a new Civil Rights Act that will secure equal justice for all, no matter the color of our skin, no matter our social class? And at this moment, when the President of the United States calls up Georgia's election officials and tries to intimidate them to change the result of the election, to disenfranchise Georgia voters, to disenfranchise black voters in Georgia who delivered this state for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That is a direct attack on our democracy, and if David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler had one piece of steel in their spines, one shred of integrity, they would be out here defending Georgia voters from that kind of assault. And so, Garden City, not only will we pass a new Civil Rights Act, we will pass a new Voting Rights Act to secure the sacred franchise for all, to make voter suppression a federal crime. Garden City, I want you to feel your power right now. Donald Trump is leaving, Garden City. Georgia voters sent Donald Trump packing. You did that. And now, instead of just the latest daily outrage, the latest scandal, the latest offense, we can elevate our eyes to the horizon again and dream about what is possible. Garden City, I want you to dream with me. Garden City, I want you to believe that we can build a society where we don't accept that violence and poverty and racism are inevitable or necessary, because they are not. Believe in the vision that John Lewis gave us of a beloved community. Believe that we can reach higher and higher heights, Garden City, but with victory on Tuesday, let us send this message about what Georgia stands for. I'm asking you to work for these next 2 days. Not for my sake, not for the glory of a political party, but because of how much good we can do for the people. So Garden City, Savannah, are you ready to work? Are you ready to knock on doors? Are you ready to call your neighbors? Are you ready to get everybody out to the polls to win these Senate races? Are you ready to send 2 new United States senators to Washington? It is an honor to be here. It's an honor to welcome Kamala Harris here. I want to thank you all for your support. I love you so much. Let's win on Tuesday and make history. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. Help us keep this event safe for everyone and stop the spread of COVID-19. Please stay in your vehicle at all times unless you need to use the restroom. If you need to leave your vehicle to use the restroom, wear a mask, practice social distancing from others not in your group, and return straight to your vehicle as soon as possible. Thank you for your cooperation. Please tune into the program at FM station 87.7. Please welcome your next senator, Reverend Rafael Warnock.
Work your thing out, work your thing out, work your thing out, work your thing out. There's so many of you girls, I hear you've been running from the beautiful queen that you can be becoming. You can look in my palm and see the storm coming. Read the book of my life and see it overcoming. Just because the length of your hair ain't long, and they often criticize you for your skin tone. Go and hold your head high, cause you're a pretty woman. Get your one waist ride home and keep it going. Girl, live your life. I just wanna be myself. Yeah. Don't stop, don't be yourself. Follow me, follow me.
Well, hello, Savannah, Georgia. Hello, Garden City. Wow. It's a beautiful day in Savannah. And you all look like you're ready to win an election. Somebody ought to fix that. Listen, I've been traveling all across this state, but I'm always grateful to be home. Through pleasures and palaces though we may roam, be there so humble, there's no place like home. And I want to welcome to the coastal city my brother from another mother. What about the next senator from the great state of Georgia, Jon Ossoff? I'm deeply honored to be running alongside him. He is deeply committed to the work that we must do in this moment. And I want to welcome to the coastal city a person who has long served the people, first as an attorney general and then a United States senator, and now the next vice president of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. I can't wait until this graduate of an HBCU Howard University, I'm going to give you your props. I can't wait until Kamala Harris gets to be the deciding vote in the United States Senate. Now, the only way that happens is you have to make sure that you send Rafael Warnock and Jon Ossoff to the United States Senate. Are you ready to make that happen? Now, can I talk to the folks in my hometown, the coastal city? You know why we're here. Hear me clearly. We are counting on you. We need Savannah to show up like it's never shown up before. Do you believe we can do that? It's getting late. Election day is Tuesday. It's almost midnight in the garden of good and evil. And the ghosts of cynicism and indifference and division are trying to win the day. But I've got a feeling that the coastal city is ready to stand up and send one of its own to the United States Senate. It's been 150 years, 150 years since we've had a Georgia senator from Savannah. Well, I think it's about time. So call everybody you know. That's right, Lottie, Dottie, and everybody. I got some folk down here who haven't been able to worship in person in church in a long time. My amen corner's right here. But call all of your family members, call your friends, call the folk you like, call the folk you don't like, but you're trying. Call the folk who owe you money and tell them what I really need you to do is to vote. It's so critically important. Savannah can make the difference in this election. Now, we did an amazing thing on November 3rd, Georgia. The rest of the country didn't see you coming, and we want to say to them, welcome to the new Georgia, welcome to the blue Georgia. But here's what we cannot do. We cannot afford to rest on the laurels of that achievement. It's going to be close. And Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, Garden City, Georgia, can make the difference. And I'd be deeply honored if the people in the city where I was born and nurtured and raised would be the defining city in this election. Are you ready to push us over the top? Now, I'm asking you to do this, but I'm very clear. I'm not asking you to do this for me, because this election is not about me. It's not about Jon Ossoff. It is about access to affordable health care. It is about a livable wage. It is about the dignity of work. It is about voting rights. It's about civil rights. It is about saving the planet, about clean air and clean water. It is about the work we must do in this moment. My name is on the ballot and on the bus, but this is about you. It's time you had a senator who's thinking about the people of Georgia. And I promise you, Savannah, you send me to the Senate, I'll be thinking about you every day. I'll wake up with Georgia on my mind. because I'm home. You know, when you're growing up, you take the place where you grew up, you know, you take things for granted. I thought the rest of the world was as beautiful as Savannah. The older I get, the more I appreciate this city with its verdant town squares and cobblestone streets, oak trees 200 and 300 years old, bending over the street, with Spanish moss making them look like old griots, beckoning the lover of history and horticulture to this city. This is where I started. I am an example and an iteration of the American dream. I was born in poverty. One of 12 children in my family. Clearly my folks read the Bible, be fruitful and multiply, and they took it very seriously. I'm number 11 out of 12 and the first college graduate in my family. I often say that I went to Morehouse College on a full faith scholarship. That means I didn't have enough money for the first semester. Is there anybody who went to college like me on a faith scholarship? But somebody gave me some Pell Grants and some low-interest student loans. That's good federal public policy. I was an upward-bound student on the campus of Savannah State, where I spent my summers. I graduated from the Saul C. Johnson High School. But through hard work, grit, and determination, I was able to go on to college and earn several graduate degrees, including a PhD degree. And then 15 years ago, I returned as the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King Jr. served, and the spiritual home of John Lewis. And now I'm running for the United States Senate against the wealthiest member of Congress. Only in America is my story even possible. I was with my mother earlier today. She's 82 years old. She grew up in Waycross, Georgia. Do you know where that is? Waycross, Georgia. Then in the 1950s, she spent her summers as a teenager picking somebody else's tobacco and somebody else's cotton. But because this is America, the other day, the 82-year-old hands that used to pick somebody else's cotton picked her youngest son to be a United States Senator. And I'm running for the United States Senate because I believe in the American promise. I know that it is alive and well, but it is slipping away from too many of our children. And if you send me to the United States Senate, I will never forget that little boy who grew up in Caton Homes housing projects. I'll be standing up for him and for all young people, not just in the urban environments, but in rural towns all across Georgia, young people and struggling families who need a chance. You will have a United States Senator who's thinking about you. And so you must show up. Make some noise if you've already voted. Now, if you have not voted yet, that's all right. There's still time. It's okay. Just show up on Tuesday. Election day. Make a plan to vote right now. Make a plan to vote. And if you've already voted, thank you. We're grateful, but your job is not done until you tell everybody you know to vote. Send them to votewarnock.com. And there you will know where you can vote, where your precinct is located, and how you can vote. Go to votewarnock.com. But you're not done until you tell everybody you know to vote, because the stakes in this election are too high for any of us to stay home. We've got work to do. We've got to get control over this virus. We've got to get this vaccine distributed safely and efficiently. We've got to get COVID relief to ordinary people. And that begins with the $2,000 stimulus that we should have passed already. We've got to reopen our businesses safely. We've got to get our schools open and our children returned back to a safe environment. We've got to make sure that everybody has access to affordable health care. And we've got to stand up for our frontline workers. We've got to stand up for our health care workers. We've got to stand up for our police officers and our fire persons. We've got to stand up for those who are on the front line. And during this pandemic, we've been calling folk essential workers. Well, if they are essential workers, we ought to pay them an essential wage. Provide for them essential benefits. We need infrastructure investment in our country. We need to repair our roads and our bridges. We need green energy and green energy jobs. Since we've got to provide COVID relief, why not put our people back to work? Stimulate the economy in the short term and get us ready for leadership in the long term. The 21st century, like the 20th century, must be the American century. And that is the work that we can do and we must do. But we cannot do it if we are divided. There are folk right now who are trying to divide us. People who have no vision traffic in division. They don't know how to lead us, and so they try to divide us. And that's what's going on right now. I'm running against the unelected Senator of Georgia, Kelly Loeffler. She was appointed. It's clear that the people of Georgia are disappointed. Have you noticed that she has not even bothered? Have you noticed that she has not even bothered to try to make a case for herself? She has not even made a case for why she should be elected to that seat. And that's because Kelly Loeffler knows that she's got a lot of explaining to do. She's been there for 10 months, and she's done a terrific job enriching herself. When she heard about the coronavirus pandemic, she wasn't thinking about the folks who were sheltering in. She was busy sheltering her investments. And then when it came time to give ordinary folk $600 in unemployment insurance, she said that she, quote, saw no need, that it was counterproductive. I guess it was not counterproductive for her to profit off of the pandemic. Who does that? Who profits off of a pandemic? Where do they do that? I'm from the hood. We say, where they do that at? Profit off of a pandemic. And so because she knows that she doesn't have a case to make for herself, she's been busy trying to malign me. She's been busy trying to make you afraid of me because she's afraid of you. She's afraid that you understand that she's been using her office to enrich herself. And so have you noticed she spent the whole campaign running the most negative campaign in Georgia history? She's been busy, as we say in church, calling me everything but a child of God. Lying on me, misrepresenting my record. We say in church, scandalizing my name. But that's all right. My mama told me that it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. And in just a few days, she can call me Senator Rafael Warnock. I am running for the Senate. It is a continuation of my life's work. I was talking about health care before I was running. And when Georgia refused to expand Medicaid in this state, I went to the governor's office and I said, Mr. Governor, you must expand Medicaid. And I and other activists organized a sit-in demonstration in the governor's office, and the Capitol Police came and they said, you've got to get out of the way or we'll have to arrest you. What they didn't understand is that I had already been arrested. My mind and my imagination had been arrested, had been captivated by this idea that if my neighbor is uncovered, then I'm unprotected. And so they carted us away that day. I wasn't mad with the Capitol Police. They were doing their job. I was doing my job. And then in 2017, when they were giving a $2 trillion tax giveaway to the richest of the rich, I went again to the U.S. Capitol. And because I had not been elected a U.S. Senator yet, I made my argument in the rotunda of the Capitol. And again, the Capitol Police came and they said, you can't stay in the rotunda. I wasn't mad at them. They were doing their job. I was doing my job. And they said, we'll give you 3 warnings and then we'll have to take you away. And they took us away that day. Well, I've got a feeling that in a few days I'm going to meet those Capitol Police officers again. This time they will not be taking me to central booking. They can help me find my new office as the next United States Senator. And so, Savannah, Georgia, we've got work to do. Don't sleep through this moment. Let's get the job done. My daddy used to wake me up every morning at dawn. He said, boy, you can't sleep late in my house. Get up. Get dressed. Put your shoes on. Get ready. I said, Dad, get ready for what? It's Saturday. He said, I don't know. I'll tell you about that later. You just be ready. Whatever it is, just make sure you're ready. Well, I'm glad my dad told me to be ready, because in this defining moment in American history, I want you to know that I'm ready. I'm ready to be your next United States Senator from the great state of Georgia. And so let me ask you a question, Savannah, Georgia. Are you ready? Are you ready for affordable health care? Are you ready to make sure everybody has a livable wage? Are you ready to stand up for our children? Are you ready to get the job done? Well, get up and get dressed and put your shoes on and get ready. Because if we fight together, if we stay together, if we vote together, if we pray together, if we show up together come Tuesday, we will make history together, but more importantly, we will win the future for all of our children. God bless you. Get up, get dressed, put your shoes on, Get ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. In order for our program to proceed, everyone must immediately return to their vehicles.
Please tune into the program at FM station 87.7.
Ladies and gentlemen, we take COVID very seriously. Please return to your cars immediately for the program to continue.
Please tune into the program at FM station 87.7.
Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your vehicles immediately.
Please welcome Dr. Erica Russell Petty.
Hello, Savannah. Hello, Georgia. And hello, my fellow Americans. I am Dr. Erica Russell Petty, a pediatrician here in Savannah and president of the Georgia State Medical Association. I, like many of you, am glad that 2020 is over. I am blessed to still be here and looking forward to great things in 21. One of the great things that 2020 helped propel is the Black Lives Matter movement. Hopefully everyone now understands that we just want Black lives to matter just as much as every other life. From the medical viewpoint, our organizations have been striving for over 125 years to get equal access to and implementation of medical care for Blacks and other minorities. With the disproportionate number of deaths and hospitalizations of Blacks and minorities, COVID has further shed light on the inequalities experienced and the negative health care outcomes that have plagued our nation due to systemic racism and disparities in our healthcare system at large. We have had record numbers of new cases of COVID here in Savannah and the state of Georgia each of the last 3 days, more than any other day since this pandemic began. But now, with the vaccines beginning to roll out, there is hope that with wearing face masks, washing hands, and social distancing, we can get control of COVID-19. Though we know that disparities in access to health care have always existed in our country, we want to specifically emphasize the difficulties surrounding getting more minorities into the healthcare profession. Recent statistics show that minority patients have better healthcare outcomes when they are able to access healthcare professionals who look like them. In addition, recent statistics show that the number of Blacks admitted to medical school has not improved in the last decade. This of course only compounds the problem. We are grateful to now have an administration willing to listen and to help. There are also broader issues that have disproportionate healthcare implications for minorities, including climate change, neighborhood zoning, and access to quality nutrition. Some of these issues have already begun to be addressed through legislation like the Affordable Care Act, which needs to be strengthened and expanded. If you want to make this administration able to implement these changes, if you want to help, you have to get out and vote Tuesday, January 5th, 21. I'm sure each of you know someone who has been affected by COVID. My family is no different. At one point this summer, my dad, two of my uncles, my aunt, and my oldest brother were all in 4 different Jacksonville, Florida hospitals at the same time with COVID. I would see patients in the office. I would dress in full PPE and go out and swab pediatric patients who needed to be tested for COVID. Then throughout the day, I would call each of my family members in the hospital to check on them. I would call each of the hospitals to talk to the nurses to go over their status. And then I would call my mom, who was home with COVID, to check on her. I thank God that they all made it. But we know there are so many who did not. Though many of us just celebrated the birth of Jesus, there are many who must now celebrate the lives of many who did not make it to this day. I do believe that if America can again pray and allow God to work through all those in elected office, that they will do what is right for our nation. Our nation will begin to heal. Indeed, I do believe that with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that the healing has begun. And now, as a Black female myself, it is my great pleasure and my distinct honor to welcome the first Black female Vice President of these United States of America, Kamala Harris.
Hey, Savannah! Hey, DJ Nice! Oh, it's so good to be with you. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. To all my sisters and brothers, Happy New Year. You know, although I have to tell you, I was here in Georgia, not in Savannah. I was in another part of the state earlier this month, or last month, but I said, you know what, the new year really, I think 2020 is not over until we get through the end of Tuesday, January 5th. Then we can really celebrate the new year. So 2020 is not really over until we get through the end of Tuesday, January 5th, and elect to the United States Senate a son of Savannah, Rafael Warnock, and a son of Georgia, Jon Ossoff, to the United States Senate. Benefit, and their lives will forever be better. Because here's what I'm going to tell you. So I was elected to the United States Senate 4 years ago. It was actually a bittersweet night. It was the same night Donald Trump was elected president. So there you go. But I will tell you, I've been in the United States Senate now for 4 years. I was elected as only the second black woman in the history of the United States Senate to be in that chamber. And I've seen what happens there. And so part of why I'm here in Savannah today, this Sunday, the Sunday before the Tuesday where you are going to make history, part of why I'm here today is to share with you the experiences I've had in the United States Senate, where I have seen that body of 100 people, 100 Americans, make the decisions that impact over 320 million Americans. Those 100 individuals who each have a voice that can change the course of the history of our country. I was there that late night into the early morning where there was a vote on one of the most significant pieces of public policy and legislation to ever hit our country because of President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden when they passed the Affordable Care Act. That was also called Obamacare. I was there to witness the debates that occurred where people were trying to make politics out of your public health, where they were determined to try and get rid of any accomplishment of the first black president of the United States, and therefore tried to get rid of a health care policy that brought health care over 20 million people who didn't have it, who said we're going to get rid of the ban on pre-existing conditions because people who have diabetes, who have lupus, who have high blood pressure should not be denied coverage because of a pre-existing condition. A law that said it is wrong, it is unjust to charge women more for health care because their bodies were designed to reproduce the human race. And I was there then on the floor of the United States Senate. It must have been 2 o'clock in the morning. It was early morning hours, where the consequence of that most important piece of legislation would be determined. And I witnessed then the power of just one senator in the United States Senate. When the late, great John McCain said, "No, you don't." You remember that? You remember that? And Savannah, you have a decision to elect 2 United States senators. That is the power that is in your hands to elect 2 individuals who are outstanding leaders in Rafael Warnock and Jon Ossoff, and I know them. I have spent time with them. We have talked, we have prayed together. We have talked about the fate of our country, the future of our country, the promise of our country. And they have talked to me about the state of Georgia. They have said to me, "Kamala, you need to know what's happening in our state." They've said to me, these are the needs of the people. These are the needs of the children. These are the needs of small businesses. These are the needs of working people. That's who these 2 men are. And look at that in the context of the history of the state of Georgia. Look at it in the context of the years where folks were deprived of the right to vote, who were deprived of full status of citizenship. Look at it in the history of Georgia, where one of the greatest American heroes, who is now one of the greatest of our ancestors, John Lewis, shed his blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, a great Georgian, for the right to vote. And he had to shed his blood because the forces were so powerful and violent in trying to deny people the rights of full citizenship, the right to vote. Let's fast forward to recent history, where we know where they're not powerful people trying to mess with folks' right to vote, we would be talking about Governor Stacey Abrams. Let's talk about more recent history. When Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were on the ballot, and they were still messing with folks' right to vote in November, trying to make it difficult, trying to make it confusing, trying to deter people. But the people of Georgia said, oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. The people of Georgia understood. And then look at the most recent history, which is that after you turned Georgia blue, you elected Joe Biden, President of the United States. You elected the first black woman in the history of our country to be the Vice President of the United States. And they had the gall to suggest you didn't know what you were doing. You must have gone about it in a way that was illegitimate. And they filed 6 lawsuits. Not 1, not 2, 6 lawsuits trying to challenge your voice in that election. And they failed every time. And the people's voice remained standing. And then the President of the United States, the current President of the United States, called the Senate race in Georgia, this Senate race in Georgia, illegitimate. He called it illegal and invalid. Illegal and invalid, suggesting that the people of Georgia are trying to commit a crime. And then let's just fast forward to most recent history, which is yesterday. Have you all heard about that recorded conversation? Well, it was, yes, certainly the voice of desperation. Most certainly that. And it was a bald-faced, bold abuse of power by the President of the United States. And I raise all that, the people and the leaders of Savannah, because if you're here right now on this Sunday, New Year's weekend, 2 days before the election, you are a leader, and I thank you for that. And I raise all this to remind us, to ask a question always when we see these powerful people that are trying to make it difficult, trying to make it confusing, trying to invalidate our voice. Whenever we see this happen, I think it requires not only action, but it requires a question. Why are such powerful people trying to make it difficult for us to vote? And I think we know the answer. It's because they know our power. They know our power. They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win. So that's what's before us, yet again, and before you, the leaders of Georgia, to say that you will not be silenced. You will not be sidelined. Your voice will not be overlooked. That you will fight because you know that when we fight, for our country and the legitimacy of our democracy, we win. We win. And so everything is at stake. Everything is at stake. When you pull out the votes that are in your community, in your family, in your neighborhood, by reminding people of what is at stake, the future of our country will be very much in the mix. When we remind our neighbors and our family members and our friends that the individuals who are elected to the United States Senate each and collectively make decisions about whether we're going to have a federal minimum wage that's at least $15 an hour. They will make decisions about whether we will have health care and an expansion of Medicaid in the state of Georgia. They will make decisions about whether we give people a $2,000 check when they have been out of work for months. They will make decisions that are about whether or not they see the people. And in this case, for Jon Ossoff and Rafael Warnock, seeing what they talk to me about when they say, Kamala, you need to know that here in the state of Georgia, 1 in 7 families are describing hunger in their household. 1 in 6 families are having a difficult time or an inability to pay rent. 1 in 4 small businesses is about to go out of business or has gone out of business. And you will make a decision about who is holding these most powerful positions that will chart the course of Georgian families and families all around our country. So I'm here to thank you on behalf of Joe and myself for what you did in November, and I'm here to ask you to do it again. And I'm just gonna remind us all. You know, these are moments when we see these great challenges that do challenge also our faith. And it requires us to dig deep. And it requires us to also see in our hearts and in our minds what is possible, what can be, unburdened by what has been. And this is one of those moments. And this moment, Savannah, this moment will pass. And years from now, our children, our grandchildren, and others, they will look in our eyes, each one of us, and they will ask us, where were you at that moment? And what I know is that we will be able to respond by telling them so much more than just how we felt at this moment. We will tell them what we did. We will tell them what we did. We will tell them we were hanging out at the Garden City Stadium with Kamala and Jon and Rafael. We will tell them, we told everybody we knew what is at stake, that we didn't stop calling them and emailing them and texting them till they got tired of us, but we knew they'd get over it. We will tell them we helped folks who hadn't yet turned in their ballot to not put it in the mailbox, but to take it and drop it off. We will tell them, vote, 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 because your life depends on it. And we will tell them that's how we elected Rafael Warnock and Jon Ossoff to the United States Senate. Thank you.
if you go along with their plan, they'll never be happy because they're not happy with themselves. I'm talking about things that I know. It's okay, show yourself some love. Don't worry about who's saying what. Work what you got. Feeling great because the lights on me. Celebrating the things that everyone told me would never happen, but God has put his hands on me, and ain't a man alive could ever